Pack football from the RTV6 sports team. You're watching Horseplay.
It's a Veterans Day edition of Horseplay here on the RTV6 app. If you're over 40, we are glad you're with us this afternoon. Great to have you on board. Colts got the win yesterday, 16-13 in overtime. Former Colts quarterback Jim Sorgi, who is not over 40 years old.
5 years to go. 5 years and 3 months, 2 months.
Don't rub it in. That was enough. Not over 40. Joins. Great to have you on board. How was the radio broadcast yesterday?
It was good. It's ups and downs, man. I mean,
that crazy game.
The last couple of years I've done it. I haven't been as drained after calling games as I have these last couple of weeks. I don't know if it's the starting off 0-2 and then really struggling the last 2 games to get a win and having to come back against Tennessee and got field goals to lose against Jacksonville, and you're hoping he doesn't make them, and it's just the tidal wave of emotions has just been crazy.
Has anyone seen the Jaguars kicker since the game?
I don't know if he made the flight back. I don't think Joe Philbin made the flight back from England, and I don't think the Josh Myers made the flight back from Indy. So, in
case you just missed it, about 15 minutes or so ago, the Dolphins decided to fire their head coach and Joe Philbin. The tight ends coach Dan Campbell will take over that team. Philbin, I've seen him on TV. Don't know the guy, never met him. He just always seemed like a strange bird a little bit.
Well, they did that Hard Knocks. Remember when they had that Hard Knocks, and it was just always like, don't quite get this guy.
Hard to figure him out, wasn't it?
It was hard to figure him out. So, he just could be one of these guys that's kind of weird out in the open, but his football mind is just brilliant because he's really done some good things in the game of football. It's just he hasn't been able to do them as a head coach with the Miami Dolphins, but he's one of those guys that's his resume is pretty good. He'll find a job pretty quickly. But the Miami Dolphins, they just don't look like they're playing very, very hard right now.
Well, they pick up Donovan Sue in the offseason, and so they have great expectations, obviously. And now they start 1-3 in a division that is pretty competitive outside of the New England Patriots, I guess. And so when you start 1-3, you lose over in London. Joe Philbin still might be in London. May not have made the trip back. But I mean, let's face it, though, there are a lot of head coaches who are better served as coordinators or doing something else.
True. They're kind of set to their position or their side of the ball, so to speak. And, I was watching ESPN just about a half an hour ago, and they were talking about Dan Campbell, that he was appointed interim head coach. And he does a really good job with the tight ends. He was their tight end coach, but can he do a good job with the entire group? And some coaches just can't, but you don't know that until they kind of get in that role, get in that position, and they try it out. And I think Joe Philbin was just kind of one of those guys. He's really good as an offensive-minded guy with quarterbacks and stuff, but he's just not a very good leader of the team, so to speak. And, a lot of high expectations for that team coming into the season with Dominican Sue, Jordan Cameron at tight end, Landry at the receiver, Stills, Tannehill. I mean, progression. They give him a contract extension because they feel like he's the guy for the future. And now, 4 games into it, body your head coach, and what happens to the team now? Where do they go from here? It's just a lot of up in the air.
To do it in week 4, too. Man, by the way, the Colts are in Miami later on this season. I think it's a December game. Is that right?
Very happy it's a December game.
You didn't circle that on your calendar. That in December you're going to Miami.
It's cold in Indiana. I'm not going to be here that weekend. I am going south.
Understood. Take a look at the lead. The score yesterday, again, in overtime. Colts got it done to improve the 2-2. They won a couple straight now. 16-13 in overtime. Obviously, the Jags had a couple of chances to win this thing, but anyway, the Colts pick up their 15th straight division win. Colby Fleener, career-high 9 catches yesterday and a touchdown. Frank Gore, 17 carries, just 53 yards as the Jags really, that front 7, they just clogged the running lanes yesterday.
And you saw it. That was their game plan. They had single high safety. Every snap, they brought an extra guy down in the box, and they were going to move. And they didn't really do a whole lot of blitzing. They didn't come after us, but they had a lot of bodies in there and a lot of tough running lanes for Frank Gore. That first run was one of his best of the game, and then the last run, obviously, that got him down in field goal range to win the game. But it was not good after. I remember looking at stats at halftime. I think he had 9 carries for 6 yards. So it was really tough sled and run the football. And it was a little bit of the blocking up front, but there was a little bit. He wasn't making those guys miss that he normally does. You know, you can have. Always told office coordinator always said we're going to block who we can block, and then there's going to be 1 or 2 guys left for you to break tackles and beat. And he wasn't breaking those tackles like he normally does.
The sense was during the game, hey, let's stop the run. Let's see if Matt Hasselbeck can beat us.
Oh yeah, from the get-go, that was
Right.
the sense. And it really worked out because the very first series of the game, we dropped 2 passes.
Right.
And one of them was Frank Gore, and then he dropped another pass later on in the game. But I really felt like we could have, Kobe Fleener, monster day, 9 catches, 83 yards, but I thought we could have utilized that matchup even more because it seemed like he was lined up against Telvin Smith, or one of their middle linebackers, who's a really young guy all day, and we could have really took advantage of him over the middle and stuff, and we didn't really do that. I think he could have had a monster day.
Did you catch what Matt said after the game about the opening couple plays he had? He said he was so hyped coming out of the tunnel. Yeah, I mean, he hadn't started in about 3 years. So
did you notice on that first pass to Frank Gore in the flat?
Right.
It was a bullet. I mean, he fired that bad boy. You could tell he looked like he was 21 years old again, and that ball came out, hit Frank, and Frank dropped it. He came back to the, he was like, what was that? You know what I mean? That's what, with those running backs, you got to hit them right here between the numbers, and you can't put too much on it because they have a hard time catching those fastballs.
We'll talk about backups, getting starting positions and whatnot. I want to get your thoughts on what it's like to be a backup and to always be on, really you're on call, 24/7.
High alert, man.
High alert.
It's an interesting position to be in.
We'll get to all of that. Michael Grady, we're going to Skype in with Michael here in just a bit. And, of course, back in his mom's basement, ladies and gentlemen, PJ. Hi, PJ. What did you think of the game yesterday?
Well, I'd first like to say my mom wants to go on the record in saying that she doesn't think the Colts should have won yesterday. However, she is looking for Jason Myers' address to send him a thank you card. So,
Mom's critical of the Colts coming out of the gate. Huh?
Mom was an emotional mess yesterday with the ups and downs. Thanks to the rookie kicker again.
Yeah.
You know, she's
I think I called him Josh earlier. I apologize for that. It's Josh Scobie is who they used to
I called
have.
him Josh yesterday too. Probably it's Jason and you know. You might call him unemployed here in a couple of weeks.
You might, anyway, both not so good kickers. Myers also missed an extra point at the beginning of the year, which is, not as horrible as it once was, but something to keep an eye out for.
Yeah, I'm thinking the Jags management was thinking, where's Josh Scobie when we need him against the Colts?
But he's even having a bad year. Scobie
he was awful
Pittsburgh,
in Pittsburgh, yeah.
Then they missed 4 field goals, he's cut, and they brought another guy in Pittsburgh. So God knows what the Jaguars are going to do. But, I mean, to have a field goal and he misses it, we call timeout. And you're like, oh.
Even Chuck was like, no, what did I do?
Don't.
Right.
And then, you can't really tell from where the press box is because obviously it's going a long ways out of the field, but I got a monitor, right? So I'm looking before Bob even sees it. I'm like, he missed it because he missed the second one by a little bit. And then to have a chance to win it again in overtime and miss another one, that's tough for that kid, especially a young kid like that. But I hope they don't. I hope they give him another shot. But it's good to have that over 40 club on your team, especially if you had a military.
Well, let's hope they give him another shot, especially when the Colts play him again.
Yeah, hey, why not?
Keep him on the team right now. By the way, did you look over your shoulder here, Jim? Did you notice there's a lava lamp in the back? PJ, did you have something to do with this? You haven't been in the studio here, have you?
No, I've not. I think actually I just noticed that someone took my lava lamp. Have you guys talked to my mom? Did she do this? She might have been her. Mom!
Has your mom been
Has your mom been in our studio?
Maybe she has. I'll have to get back with her. I think she's doing the dishes upstairs, so she
I'm
can't
a
hear
little
me.
freaked out by the fact we've got a lava lamp in here. So.
Hey, it's a nice decoration, all right?
No, I'm not. No,
you guys will warm up to it, pun intended.
I'm not speaking to the quality of it. I'm just curious about the placement of it. So
it was not I.
How did it get here?
Mystery.
Inside the numbers from yesterday's game, and again, this is for the over 40 crowd. You had to be over 40 to be on this particular graphic. Can't say enough about Matt Hasselbeck. First win since the Titans beat the Bills back in 2012. Adam Vinatieri becomes the first player to go over 1,000 career points. That is amazing. And speaking of Mr. Automatic, he's hit 203 consecutive PATs, whether it's the old PAT yard mark or the now, I would say new and improved. I don't know about that. But dating back to 2010, 203 consecutive PATs. So under 40 need not apply.
Right. I don't know why I didn't get, they signed Josh Johnson and not me. I was, under 40, and they didn't want.
It's funny you mentioned that because when it came out that Josh Johnson was signed, people were like, well, what about Jim Sortney? He's already in town. No, I'm serious.
Hey.
We also heard a couple of Kerry Collins comments out there, too.
See what I'm saying? The guy to go with the younger, you know what I mean? The guy has Josh Johnson. He's the guy the Colts know. They saw him in the preseason last year with the Cincinnati Bengals, played really well, so I can understand why they picked him up.
Well, let's talk about this. Okay, backup quarterback. And here's Matt Hasselbeck, who even though he's 40 years old, he obviously still has something.
Yeah, and his resume, it speaks for itself. And
went to a Super Bowl, all that sort of thing. So
went over 35,000 yards.
35,000. We're going to get. In fact, let's do it right now. Monday afternoon quarterback. Some of the stats from Matt Hasselbeck over the years. He was 30 of 47 yesterday, 282 yards and a touchdown. First start, as mentioned, since November 4th of 2012, with 282 yards. Jim mentioned he's over 35,000 yards now for his career. In 47 attempts, he's now passed Jim Hart for 19th most in the NFL. As a backup quarterback, you're on call 24/7. How do you get ready for games that you may not even play in?
Well, I think it was easier for Matt this week because he did get all the practice reps.
Right.
You know, that there's something to be said for seeing what the opponent's going to do to you and what they're going to try to bring at you to disrupt your offense. So he was able to get those snaps, see it, and kind of visually kind of prepare for what he was going to see. Normally, as a backup, you don't get those reps. So you're doing it all from film, you're doing it all from study, just kind of from habit, so to speak, and that's what makes it tough. That's what, when you see a guy kind of get hurt in the middle of a game, like a Tony Romo, and then a Brandon Weeden comes in, or something like that, where a quarterback hasn't prepared on the field to play this team, that's where it gets tough, and that's where you kind of just got to go out there and execute. And I always told myself when I was backing up Peyton, if something ever happened where he got hurt and I had to go in and play, and I hadn't prepared, just go out there and win the game. Whatever I have to do to win the game.
Right.
You know, we can fix everything else afterwards. It doesn't have to be as pretty as he does. It doesn't have to be all the checking and stuff like that. Just get the win. Yeah. And then everybody will kind of calm down, and then you'll have time to prepare if he's going to be out for a longer stretch of getting the reps every week and preparing for the team you're going to play on the field. But, yeah, it was just get the W. It doesn't have to be pretty, just win.
So in many ways, this was kind of the perfect storm for Matt Hasselbeck because he was able to get out there and practice Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and also go through the run-through on Saturday and that sort of thing.
Yeah, because you get to see what are they going to do to me on certain situations in the game. Red zone, third down, short, medium, long, first and second down, blitz. The blitz is huge because then you can kind of recognize it. And when you're watching the game as a starter instead of watching the game as a backup, film as a backup, it's a little bit different because you're looking at more. When I was watching film as the backup to Peyton, I was pretty much watching it for something he wanted me to do, to look for. When you're watching it as a starter, you're watching it for yourself to prepare for the game. So you're looking at different things like tendencies, tilt.
So back up. So explain that a little bit further. So when you were playing back for Peyton, you were watching for things that he would want to see out there more than what you were going to see or wanted to see out there.
Right. I was watching film to prepare him to play.
Yeah.
Hey, go watch this, go do this. And, you know, if I got done with that, then I could watch film for myself and to get ready. But, I mean, that's why I was there. You're there from 7 in the morning till 10 o'clock at night. When you're watching it for yourself, I'm looking at this corner. How does he play in man? How does he play in zone? Safety, if it's a 2-yard difference in safety tilt, then I know I'm going to get this. And that's the stuff you're watching if you're preparing to play.
It's more of a support role than for the starting quarterback, but you've got to put in the double duty to get yourself ready.
Well, I heard something that Matt Hasselbeck said yesterday after the game. This is Andrew's team, you know, and I'm going to do anything I can to help Andrew succeed. And then I was in a position where I wasn't going to push Peyton Manning for the starting position. It was his team. Sure. So it was my role to help him be the best he could be and to help to win football games and prepare as such. And that's kind of the way I approached it. But in that preparation, it allows you to prepare for the game as well. So.
We think, again, there's no official word. In fact, we're going to hear from Chuck Pagano later this afternoon. The Colts are right back at it on this short week, very short week. All the bumps and bruises this team's gone through, and oh, by the way, they got a game now on Thursday. So it's a tough turnaround for any team that's in the NFL playing on Sunday and then having to come back on Thursday, which most of the coaches hate. The players hate. Sadly, this is a money-driven league.
Yeah.
The NFL is the 800-pound gorilla of professional sports. So if they say, hey, we can make some money by having a Thursday game, everybody else is going to have to pay for it.
They've tried to help teams out by making it a division game. So normally it's an opponent that you know pretty well.
Right.
So the game planning aspect of things kind of isn't as big a part of it as if you're playing a team from the NFC, if you're in the AFC, so to speak.
Right.
But it's still a tough week to prepare for. But
and all the more difficult if you got to go on the road.
Right. And we've had to go on the road every year for a very long time. So I consider this week like just a must-win week. Just win. That's all you have to do. It doesn't have to be pretty. It can be like the win yesterday. Just go out there and get the win. And then you're sitting in a pretty good position. And that's the way we used to treat Thursday games. Obviously, we want it to be clean and crisp and all that stuff. But you are banged up. You got guys that didn't play last week that are still banged up and probably not going to play this week. Guys that got hurt yesterday that are probably not going to play this week.
Jaleel Brown had a groin injury. Jarrell Freeman had a groin injury.
Right.
Which those are difficult to come back from, especially on a short week.
Yeah, and you don't know about the injuries you can't see right now. The guys that come in after the game got some bumps or bruises that are really going to prevent them from playing. So this is just to get a win week, and then you're feeling really good after this win because you got 3 wins in the division. You're sitting at 3-2 after starting out 0-2, and you got plenty of time to prepare for New England.
Sounds like, and getting back to the original point, I think Luck's probably going to play.
I would think so.
Thursday.
I would think so. It all depends. I got to understand that he was pretty sore and limited this week and not as far along as they wanted him to be yesterday for him to not play yesterday. But you got the best of both worlds. I mean, you felt like you had to rest him. You did rest him. You got the win regardless with your backup. So you give him an extra 5 days to prepare for Houston and getting ready to play like that. So I got to imagine he'll play, especially getting the extra time off. But you are playing a heck of a defense in the Houston Texans. And do you really want to put your franchise out there against a defense like that could a one hit could
against a J.J. Watt
who knows what one hit could do, you know? Because
Exactly.
I don't think you don't really know exactly what Andrew's injury is. You know, they're telling us soreness and this and that, but you know, just general soreness probably doesn't keep you out of a game. So it's got to be something a little bit more extensive, but probably not something that needs
We're not
a lot
talking
of time.
surgery. We're not talking anything like that. Time heals all wounds.
Exactly.
Is what the old saying is. Michael Grady Skyping in. In fact, do we have Michael now?
Yes, sir.
Hey, bud.
What's going on?
How was the radio show?
No radio today. No radio.
Oh, that's right.
Today.
You're
This is
off
my
from the radio show. I
first
forgot about
appearance.
that.
Yeah, off the radio show, but monitoring, everything that's going on. With the Colts and all the talk and conversation from yesterday. Fans still not feeling at ease after the performance yesterday. Still.
Yeah, a lot of talk afterwards, and you were in the locker room after the game as well. The guys inside the locker room, while they were pretty much spent a week ago in that win down in Tennessee, and they were just glad to get out of there, much different looking and sounding locker room yesterday. It was pretty jubilant, wasn't it, Michael?
It was. There was also a sense of relief as well.
Yeah.
And I think the main thing was, there may be fans and folks that may want some style points. Too many people may be paying attention to what the New England Patriots did at home against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Look, when you're playing without Andrew Luck, even though it's your goal no matter what, but especially in a situation like this when you're shorthanded, not to mention the guys on the defensive side of the ball, all you care about is getting a win. You don't care about style points. You don't care about margin of victory. Just get a W and hold down the fort until Andrew Luck gets back.
I would agree with that. I mean, style points kind of went out the window after the Bills game, didn't it?
Exactly. Now it's just
Absolutely.
getting wins. It's just, I need a W bad. I need to do whatever I got to do to win until this team gets right, and hopefully that comes pretty soon.
Thank goodness, though, the Colts are a part of the AFC South, though, right?
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, I mean, Tennessee with the new quarterback and Marcus Mariota. Blake Bortles is still learning and figuring things out. And how many mistakes did the Jacksonville Jaguars make yesterday? Whether it was penalties or just bad bonehead plays by their team, just to open the door for the Colts to be able to steal that one. That was a game that Jacksonville probably should have had, but they just left the door wide open for the Indianapolis Colts. And then we'll see a Houston team on Thursday that was smacked around by the Atlanta Falcons. So, this AFC South has been a godsend since Andrew Luck has came along, no question. And that's kind of reflected. We saw this stat about a couple of weeks ago about the division record that the Colts have versus the record against teams outside of the AFC South, not as one-sided.
Well, I'm going to call an audible here. Let's put up the graphic that lists all the division streaks of the last, I don't know, this goes back to 1972, the early 70s. The Colts have won 15 straight now in the AFC South. This division streaks in any division. The 2002-2010 Colts won 15 straight in the AFC North. Jim Sorgi was a part of that. And then you go back to 72-73. The Dolphins own the AFC East 15 in a row. And then Dallas back in the early 90s, they won 14 in a row against the NFC East. And the Patriots back in the not too distant, last year, up until last year, they won 14 in a row against the the NFC North. So another win on Thursday, and the Colts break a record, if you will. And I don't think there's any reason why, certainly if Luck comes back, Michael, there's no reason why they can't go down to Houston and get another W.
Oh, there shouldn't be. There shouldn't be. But I think this team has been unpredictable to this point, or at least they haven't. Let me put it this way: it hadn't been unpredictable. They've been pretty consistent in not playing at a high level through the first 4 weeks of this NFL season, and because of that, there are no guarantees. But at the same time, the way the Houston Texans have been playing, it would lead you to believe that the Colts have a really good shot. That said, they're on their home field. They always get up to play against the Colts. They don't beat the Colts in Indianapolis, but they have beaten the Colts out there at what is now called NRG Stadium. So, and when you have J.J. Watt going against that Colts offensive line, there are no gimmies. So I'm going to stay away from predictions, but that is definitely a winnable game.
The funny thing is, I don't know how you feel, but last year I had enough of the J.J. Watt talk. I mean, it seemed like every week, J.J. Watt this, J.J. Watt that. I'm like, okay, whatever. And then that Thursday night game down in Houston, dude stepped up. I'm thinking, okay, this is every bit of the hype that this guy's been getting.
Well, what's crazy is I really haven't heard his name too much this year.
Right.
I really haven't.
Not like last year.
Right. I really haven't been looking for it all that much, but they're right. That's a team that's in flux right now. I heard Bill O'Brien's post-game speech and just kept taking the blame. It's my fault. I didn't get this team ready to play. Turn the ball over a ton of times, give short fields, and then you're switching quarterbacks. And then they started asking him about that. He's like, we were out of the game. We were just making substitutions. Well, and Brian Hoyer came in there and played pretty good. I mean, there's got to be something there and he's going to get asked it all week. And I'm guessing Mal to start, but with a short leash.
We're going to get to the stats from the Houston Texans here coming up. One last thing, Michael, about yesterday. I know you were in the locker room. What was Frank Gore saying? I mean, here he is, 2 home games, 2 fumbles essentially at the goal line. I feel bad for the dude, but this is something moving forward he cannot be doing.
Yeah, he feels like he's pressing too hard. He also acknowledged that he has some issues with his hands, whether it was jammed or dislocated or something like that. He's had an issue, and that led to some of those drops. I know that Hasselbeck took the blame for it, but Frank felt like he should have had those catches early on in the game, but he was kind of saying that his fingers have been kind of jacked up. He had a different choice word for his fingers, but we'll go with
it's the internet. I think you can say it. I don't know. No, maybe not. Okay.
Mom's probably watching.
Okay.
But anyway, so he was acknowledging some issues with his hands. He said that that affected the drops, but it didn't affect the fumble. He feels like he's pressing too much, and so he was really hard on himself. He's happy. He was happy about the win after the game, but he was really tore up about that fumble there on the goal line. He felt like he could have cost his team the football game. So I'm with everybody else. I love Frank. I love how hard he runs and all that, but obviously he's going to have to clean up the fumbles because not only is Frank having issues with fumbling the football, you have Tyler Varga who's out with a concussion, but then Josh Robinson has coughed up the football as well. So they've got some issues there in the backfield.
Yeah, and Josh Robinson looked like after that fumble where he kind of made the guy safety miss and they got hit from Scooter from behind, it looked like he came out kind of holding his hand a little bit that the ball he was carrying the ball with, and we didn't really see him that much after that point. So it'd be interesting to got to hold on to the ball.
Robinson's not helping himself out, and then we get word there's scuttlebutt on Twitter and the internet that Ahmad Bradshaw is in town today, the former Colt, former New York Giant. Did you play with Ahmad?
I did.
Yeah. He is in town working out, let's say, for the Colts, and so there might be a move that this team's going to make here in the not-too-distant future heading into the Texans game, although you go back to his drug arrest, if you will, or legal issues that he had, I believe it was in Ohio.
Yep.
He's going to have to sit out 1 game.
Right.
So if the Colts sign him, then he's not going to be available for the Texans game on Thursday. But I mean, Michael, it's something they got to work out. Vargas got a concussion. Robinson may or may not be long for this world.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. So they have to figure something out. Yeah. Again, the running game is the quarterback's best friend, and I know when Frank is on, he's certainly helping this football team.
He is so
can't
good,
cough the ball up,
so
and you need some depth behind him for sure.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Michael. We'll see you out at the Colts complex. Live coverage beginning at 4 o'clock. The Colts have practice. Players are available. We're going to hear from Chuck Pagano around 6:15 or so as well. So short week. Colts back at it today to get ready for the Houston Texans. We'll see you out there at the Colts complex today. Thanks, Michael.
We'll see you there. Take care. See you, Jim.
Later, Michael.
Thanks, buddy. Back over to PJ, standing by in PJ's mom's basement. We're giving away an iPad Mini by the end of the season. Is that right?
We are. We would like to. We just, you, the viewer, need to watch and then participate in our weekly trivia question. Which, good segue.
Yes.
Got a good one this week for you. Think back to the Super Bowl team in 2007. Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne led receiving yards by a mile. I mean, it was just a crazy tandem year.
Right.
So the third leading receiver is a familiar name, but maybe doesn't jump right to the top of the tongue. Who is that?
Oh, what do you think?
Well, let's name some guys it could be, right? I mean, off the top of your head, you're thinking Stokely.
Brandon Stokely.
You're thinking, probably past that, you're thinking tight ends.
Dallas Clark, you would think certainly would be up there, right?
Right.
I'm going to go. Boy, Stokely had a great year during.
But I think Stokely's big year was
the year before.
The year before.
Right.
And I think he battled through some injuries that year.
I'm going to go Dallas Clark.
I'm going to still go Stokely just because of the fact that.
Stokely, Dallas Clark. What do you got, PJ?
Mr. Ben Utek is the man.
Ben Utek?
The man. Yes.
Wow. Big Ben.
Big
That is
Ben?
by a hair, too.
Third leading receiver of the Super Bowl year.
Yeah, not by many yards. Once you get the drop off from Reggie and Marvin, I mean, it was, we're talking 600 yards down the chart. A couple other guys right nearby him, but that's just a testament to how well distributed the ball was.
Where was Dallas that year?
I think he was pretty close behind him. I think he was maybe the fourth or fifth right there.
I don't think Utek had more than like 400 yards a year in his career, so it must have been like a log jam at the 400 yard mark, huh?
Right around there, right around the mid 300s. Three or four guys stacked right up there, but big passing year and just good old Ben. He's a familiar name around.
I love Ben Utek.
Great guy.
Great guy. I wonder. Well, you're also, PJ, is keeping an eye on our fantasy figures as well, very much into fantasy football. And I have a decision to make here, PJ, and if you can help me out on this.
I can.
I have Andre Johnson on my fantasy team. I've been sticking by 81 all season. I'm about to jump ship. What should I do?
This will be the easiest decision that you need to make all year. Just drop him.
Just
I can't. I mean, after yesterday, what can you say? I mean, and of course, you got the backup quarterback in the system, so it's not familiar, less chemistry, all that. But
okay, but he's going to Houston. He's going back to where he played.
Yeah.
So does that change things?
I don't know. I mean, it depends.
He's going to be up for this game.
He's going to be hyped. He's going to be hyped. But from a fantasy perspective, you can't rely on hype. You got to see production. You got 4 weeks now of evidence of him not fitting to one degree or another.
Yeah. He's the statistical evidence kind of guy. You know
what
I mean?
He can't do it.
I
hate those guys.
He can't.
He's going back to Houston. They mistreated him. They abused him. They got rid of him.
I play with my heart.
He's a head guy. We're heart guys.
What place are you in, Dave, in your league?
Like second place. I lost yesterday, but it's all good.
Yeah.
All right. Any final thoughts, PJ?
Well, Andre's a no. You talked about Frank Gore. He's still kind of the jury's out on him. We know he's a good running back. You take out the 22-yarder that he had at the end of the game yesterday. It was a tough day for him.
Yeah.
They stacked the line, though.
Yeah, to your point earlier, they stacked the line. So
Earl Campbell couldn't have run through that line yesterday.
You can't have hit and miss, though. I mean, 86 yards, 2 touchdowns against the Titans, and then, 50 yards? But, I mean, half of it was on one play. I mean, if he gets in that end zone and doesn't fumble and gets in the end zone and scores a touchdown, then I say, you might keep him in fantasy,
Yeah, it's just, again, you got to have that evidence. You got to have that week-by-week building and trust when you start to play these guys. There are just better options out there of people that are going to get some yards, some of which are Duke Johnson for the Cleveland Browns. The guys behind Isaiah Crowell still, as far as the running back position is concerned, you got 9 receptions this past Sunday.
I can't pick up a Cleveland Brown, though. I just can't.
What about Gurley?
Understood. Gurley had a great week as well. He was running with purpose. A lot of leagues have him as a starter. He was kind of a known force coming into this season.
Just kind of pick him up and wait kind of a thing?
Yeah. It was just a matter of time, really, is what the sentiment was in fantasy. So he's on a lot of teams. But if you're looking for somebody to replace, say, like Frank Gore that maybe you had faith in for the first couple of weeks, you look at the Cowboys. They've had some turnover because of injuries. And Darren McFadden showed some life. in their game last night.
I disagree.
I
disagree.
Go on, Mr. Sorgi.
I
Go
do.
on.
He just looked slow and like he just wasn't. I would play Joseph Randle more than Darren McFadden. It looked like, I know Randle kind of he had a good game early, then he kind of lost the ball on a play, and then he didn't really see him in the second half and saw more McFadden. But I just don't think. I know Randall's smaller and probably doesn't want to take the punishment of a down guy, but he just looked way more electric out there than McFadden did. And, did you see a receiver, undrafted free agent for the Saints, Snead, his last name? Is monster night last night catching the football for the Saints. Yep.
Tight end?
No, he's a little slot wide receiver, yeah.
And that's the trouble with the Saints is they're just so well distributed. I mean, even Ben Watson looked alive again last night. You just can't rely on one of those guys. That's been the trouble with the Saints for years is, maybe Marquez Colston ends up with the most yards at the end of the year, but every week it's somebody different stepping up in that system.
Brandon Cooks has been kind of non-existent in that offense, and I just know that because my wife likes him, picking him for fantasy, and he ain't getting her nothing.
Can't blame him for that. One last note from yesterday's game. Alan Hearns, Jacksonville Jaguars.
Saw him a lot yesterday.
He had a big day, and it's been a trend. So last year he was a big play guy, a couple of long throws down the field that kept him in the conversation. But alongside Allen Robinson, or excuse me, the other guy on the Jaguars.
Allen Robinson's the lead guy over there.
Allen and Allen. It's the Allen duo.
Yeah.
Alongside him, he's looking like a real force. So if you're looking for a receiver who's maybe flown under the radar, Alan Hearns might not be a bad idea.
All right. Victory ham sandwich from Mom today?
Yes, with cheese. We're going with Swiss cheese because of all the holes in the Texans' defense this week. That's what we're looking for. Right, Mom? Yeah.
Would you tell Mom to pick up her lava lamp?
I will. Again, I made some calls to my reliable lava lamp distributor sources, and I, no, they didn't take credit. So.
Okay.
Thanks,
We're
buddy.
going to find out.
Thanks, buddy. Ben Utek. Who would have known?
Ben Utek.
Take a look. What is next for the Indianapolis Colts? As mentioned, a short week as they get ready now for the Houston Texans. Houston on the road. Yesterday, they just got thumped by the Atlanta Falcons. Falcons improved. They're still undefeated at 4-0. Brian, here's the question. Who's going to be the starting quarterback for the Texans on Thursday? They started with Mallett. You see the numbers, 12 of 27, 150 yards, 1 pick. In came Brian Hoyer, and 17 to 30, 232 yards, and a couple touchdowns. Yeah. So, Jim Sorgi, what do you think?
Well, I saw the numbers for J.J. Watt down there. Sack, 3 tackles for loss, 2 pass deflections.
Put that back up.
He's still doing what he normally does. But you look at DeAndre Hopkins, that's somebody we got to take away from their offense. So I would be willing to bet that Vontae Davis shadows him across the field.
You think? Yeah.
Arian Foster didn't look ready yesterday, but they got Blue in the backfield also. So it would be interesting to see what we do with there. But I'm not a big fan of changing quarterback to quarterback, but with the performance that they had, you probably have, it was 42-0. The Falcons probably pulled some guys. Hoyer's probably going in there, winging it around late. But, you started with Hoyer, you went to Mallett early after game 1, and then you stuck with Mallett for a few games, and now you're going to go back with Hoyer. It's just, you can't have that carousel at the quarterback position, and it's just not good for the team. But to be honest with you, I'm hoping that they go with Mallett. I think he's a better fit for our defense to really get after him. I think we'll take away the run, but if we take away the run, like our defense has done, they've done a great job. If Vontae can take away DeAndre Hopkins and we can get a little bit of push on Mallett, we'll have a pretty good day on defense.
To me, the defense has been completely underrated
this
season. Coming out of the gate, I don't know they're getting enough love. Josh McNary came in. I thought he was spectacular yesterday.
Played really well.
Yeah.
DeQuell Jackson, 17 tackles.
Right.
You look at the guys up front, Anderson, Langford, Perry, doing a phenomenal job. Roberts, close. He's getting there. On every pass situation, Mathis.
Yeah.
He looks like he's going to get there and reaches out of hand. He's just a little bit away, but he's close.
Yeah, the spin move still looks pretty good.
It looked good. It looked good. And I was been waiting for him to pull it out because he's been trying to beat the tackle with speed, and he's been just a little bit off, but then he used a spin move, and then it was almost there too. But we did have Jarrell go down, but I think Josh can fit in, and you hope you get a couple guys back in the secondary. But I think Josh Thomas, he's looked good the last couple weeks in the secondary. So I think our defense has just played phenomenal for as much as they've been put on the field by our offense,
right? And
getting just wear down. I even thought yesterday our offense didn't do a very good job, even though the time of possession was closer. I think they only beat us by like 2-3 minutes. It seemed like when we needed a big drive and a longer drive to keep the defense off, it was a 3-and-out, and they had to go right back on. But they did a great job they might have gave up some yards, but once it got past the 50, they did a really good job of stopping them.
Bend but don't break.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the proverbial saying. Another proverbial saying when it comes back to both Hoyer and Mallett, when you have two quarterbacks,
you don't have one.
You don't have one.
Exactly.
So we'll see what happens on Thursday. You like the Colts on Thursday?
I do like the Colts. I like the Colts a little bit more if Andrew plays.
Right.
But I do think the injuries worry me a little bit. But I do think like I said, just get a win. I don't care if it's ugly, pretty, whatever. Get the win, and I think the Colts will get the win.
We'll see. We'll find out here in just a couple of days. Yeah. It is on Thursday night football. Colts, Houston Texans, down in what was formerly known as Reliance Stadium. What's it? NRG Stadium. Energy Field.
NRG.
You better figure this out for the radio broadcast.
Bob says it.
Bob says it.
I disagree with
Leave it to Lamy. Thanks for watching, everybody. The RTV6 app, the IndyChannel.com. Our thanks to Michael Grady, PJ, and PJ's basement, Mom's basement, as well. Thanks for tuning in. RTV6 app, IndyChannel.com. Week 4 Horseplay in the books. We'll see you next Monday.